problem is that we're not
Blacks
telling
here in
the
this
kids
city
they're
have
starting
made
to use
significant
drugs earlier
contributions.
in life than they ever have. Welcome to this rendition of Minority Focus. I'm your host, Jimmie Moore, and got a rip-roaring day here going, and we've got some rip-roaring guests that I know you're going to find really fantastic. We've got Mr. Art Hamilton and Mr. Harold Hare, both of the Negro American Baseball League. Now, when you see these guys' faces, you ain't going to believe they could have possibly been around, back during that day. But they're here with us today, and we're very happy to have both of you. Pleasure and honor. And in addition, Mr. Roy Duke Wade, the Duke, who is a past manager of the great Ray Charles. What an honor I'm sure it must have been to have been associated with his life and all that he had to do. We're going to be talking to all three of them here. Glad to have you, gentlemen. Have your lives these last few days been as hectic as mine has been today? I'm just curious. But we're here. We managed to get here someday. What brings you to our part of the country?
Well, we were invited. This is our third trip here, besides when we were playing ball. And they invited us down. I think the first was on August the 8th affair. And Miss Betty Dobson,
Betty Dobson.
Dobson, and she invited us. But we met a Miss Donna, what was her name, Mitchell? We met her in Jacksonville. And we had an autograph signing, and she said that she was from Paducah and that you all had this big thing going every year, and she was going to tell the people about us and invite us here. And you've been the most gracious host, and we've really enjoyed ourselves.
She turned over to, she said, I'm going to tell someone in Paducah about what they saw in Jacksonville. And so she, when she got back here in Paducah, she turned it over to Betty. And Betty looked at it, and Betty been carrying it on ever since then.
Right.
And things like that, every August days and things like that. But this time, we had Duke to come. We gonna try to be when Duke get here. You talking about? It's a mess.
When I came in the studio earlier, I met these gentlemen for the first time just a very few minutes ago, and upon entering, Mr. Hamilton had an immediate insult for me in his greeting, which was, "What are you doing with the Yankee baseball?" Thought about it before I came in. I didn't know if there was some controversy there about. We ain't gonna get into that though.
No.
One of my coworkers is, well, he breathes, eats, and lives the Yankees.
Okay.
And I'm somewhat concerned about saying anything negative
All right.
about the Yankees, because I got to go back to work next week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I can't begin to imagine the experiences that you had. I know you were saying earlier that you caught for some of the greats. The great pitchers that you caught for Satchel Paige.
Yes, I have.
When he first began.
Yes, I did. I had the opportunity to play with Satchel Paige, not when he was young. So I don't want y'all to get that. And I want you to, because Satchel Paige pitched up until he was 60-some years old. And I'm going on 72 years old. So I had the opportunity to play with him. And because I played up in the Negro League until 1960. It went out about really, talking about, So when Satch went to the big league, he become the oldest rookie ever been in the big league. Then he couldn't pitch up there in the big league no more. Then he come back to the Negro League. And he kind of helped him, drawing card. He wasn't nothing but drawing card and things like that. So Satch pitched 2 innings every night. And he might want to go a little longer. He pitched. Every night he pitched 2 innings. He sure did, and he tried to make the guys in the Negro, because they know how the Negro League was going out there and things like that. So he pitched to help the Negro Leagues to make a little. As a matter of fact, to make a little meal money. Right. Make a little meal money, because I wasn't getting but $2.50 a day. Wow. But I eat good. Yeah. Then sometimes I would like the old saying say, we played, but we didn't get paid.
Right. I'm wondering, Brother Harris, how it must have felt, or how did it feel, being out there playing ball, knowing that you were doing as well as, if not better, in a lot of cases, than a whole bunch of those white clubs, you know, and not having the. It seemed like it almost should have been just fun. You had to have been doing it for fun because you weren't getting the recognition.
You know, we, like I was saying, we played because we loved the game. That's number one. They picked me up. And the Black League was, as far as we were concerned, was a major league. The Negro American League was a major league for us. We didn't think in terms of that until Jackie and a lot of the guys went in, and then we always lived in the hopes that we were going to make it. We still had Brother Jim Crow was very much alive. We still had to go around the back. We got to some hotels that wouldn't receive us. We had to keep playing, play in a town tonight. We just drive all night, sleep on the bus, and play the next day. And like Art said, we got $2.50 a day eating money, and first thing you learned was to sleep through breakfast, and then you'd have something left to go on. But I was just a young man from Jacksonville and hadn't been but 100 miles from home, to Ocala, Florida. I went to college and I got signed from North Carolina, and I got on that baseball bus and I've been everywhere. You name a city, we've been there. And looked like I was fortunate enough to do good in the major cities. We played in Yankee Stadium, we played in Briggs Stadium in Detroit, we played in Cleveland, we played in Pittsburgh. We played everywhere.
Wow.
And I think the best time, or the most frightening time, it was July the 4th, 1953. I was a rookie. And I stepped up out of the dugout and said, number 41, Hare, third base. And I looked up in the stand. I'd never seen that many white shirts in my life. I almost panicked. Wow. But what a feeling to just look around in the clubhouse and see those names of those guys. And you felt you could do the thing, because my first time at bat, I hit one down left field, bounced in the stand for double, you know. Right. And I seen me hit home runs in all of the big parks. I hit one in Philadelphia and never came down out of the light tower. I guess it took me 15 minutes. I was looking up to see where it was, but it just, you be pumped up so great when you get in those towns. And then we played in some towns, and I'm not going to say anything about Paducah, but we came to Paducah, and the only thing I can remember, parking lot was grass. The light poles looked like they were short. And when the pop light went up, you had to wait till it came back in the light to find it. But we had malicious crowds. I mean, the people broke the park down through Mississippi, Alabama. And I'm sure when we got out west on me, we were a novelty.
That's right.
Hadn't seen that many of us.
That's right.
If you know my thing.
Out Wyoming.
And they'd go out Wyoming and did the quotas and all out through there. But it was still baseball.
Imagine coming to Paducah. I'm sure if you stayed anywhere at all, it was at the Hotel Metropolitan.
That's
well,
right.
we went down that way. But for us, we would always be on our way to Louisville, or we going on across to Cincinnati, or we swung west or wherever.
Go to St. Louis.
Go to St. Louis.
Or go back to Nashville.
Or go back to Nashville. We never did really stay in the Metropolitan, but we were aware of it.
Well, anybody coming through here back, this was part of the so-called Chitlin Circuit.
Chitlin Circuit?
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
I stayed in it.
I kind of figured that, because I know that Ray Charles wasn't always famous. You know,
That's right, brother.
You know about it.
I stayed in it.
But did he come through here? Did
I
you come
stayed
through
in
here
it.
with him?
I stayed in it.
Did you?
Yeah, and I'm only 40 miles, 35 miles from here. I'm born 35 miles, but I stayed there because I had to be with him, you know.
You from
Qatar.
Qatar?
Yeah.
Hey, look, a homeboy.
Yeah.
Ray Charles stayed there at the
Yeah.
Hotel
Oh, yeah, several
Metropolitan.
times. B.B. King stayed there. Bobby Bland stayed there. Everybody I knew was still on the road with us. Ike and Tina stayed there. We all stayed there.
Right.
That was it.
Right.
You know, we couldn't stay anywhere else.
Were you here often? Was it a matter of just going?
A couple times a year we used to come through here.
Is that?
Yeah. And in the movie, if you notice, When we left Savannah, Georgia that night, when they had Jeff Brown telling Ray that, you know, we're not. He told Jeff we're not going to stay there. It was me that he was telling, you know, we're not going to play here. We went to Hopkinsville, Kentucky, which is what's that? Clarksville, the Army what's the Army base up there, right?
Fort Campbell.
Fort Campbell. So he told me, he says, you can call Milt Shaw and tell him if they got that rope down the line, we out of here. So I called Milt. I said, Milt, we just left Savannah, and Ray wouldn't. He said he ain't gonna play it. So you know, I know you're gonna get a lot of flack for it, but he told me to get everybody back on the bus, and we left there, and went to Hopkinsville, Kentucky. We call it Hopkinsville, and I think it's Clarksville or something, Tennessee or something. It's right on the border there. And when we got there, I told the promoter, I said, you know, we just had a big thing 2 days ago, and he said, yeah, I know about it. I said, but if you got that rope down that line, this blind brother ain't gonna play that. He told me, he said, get the bus ready, we're going out of here again.
How long did you manage him?
I was with him from 57 to 64. I was his personal agent. I mean, his personal, you know, he took care of everything he did personally.
Right.
Me and Jeff. Jeff took care of the business, I took care of him. I took care of all his, everything. You know, buy his clothes, take care of his money, did everything just about, you know.
Right, as some stars get, when they start getting, the bigger they get, in some cases, the bigger they get, the ornerier they get. The meaner
Well,
they
he
get,
never
the
was
more
ornery to me.
demanding
He couldn't
they
be
get.
ornery to me. You know what, Jimmy? I woke him up and put him to bed.
Yeah.
So he had to be very good to me. You know what I'm saying? He was very good to me. And I loved his wife. His wife was so beautiful. She told me, she said, Duke, first thing I want you to do for me is go buy him some clothes. Because the way you look, I don't want you bringing him on that stage and him looking worse than you, you know? So I took him to Fioravanti's on Park Avenue and bought him a bunch of suits. Boy, they pitched to so-and-so. I sent the bill back. You know what I'm saying? They, we was going to Atlantic City. And I got to Atlantic City, the phone was ringing off the hook in the box. We got a bill here today for some shoes, $300. And I said, well, hey, his wife said, buy him. He's got money. You know what I mean? So why not let him, you know? Yeah. And he's never looked back from them days since.
See, while he's talking, folks, I'm checking him out from toe to head. He's bad. My boy, bad. I already hit him up for the hat. I don't think I'll get it.
Right.
But I hit him up for it. Was the movie, do you think?
Well, the movie was somewhat
really
true. The first beginning was that first part of him and George and his mama. But that was really, from what he told me, like I said, I spent day and night with him. Mm-hmm. All of that was actually true. The latter part wasn't really true. Some of it, Margie Hendricks was there for years. He would with Mary Ann. Mary Ann used to sing with my father, Ted Wade, which was from Paducah, Kentucky. He had a band in Louisville. Mary Ann started out singing with him, and Ray came through there one time, and he took Mary Ann and took her on the road. That was before I got there. She stayed 2 years. Then I came right after Mary Ann. And Mary Ann left after him. He was doing the first part. Him and Margie was going together. But at the last part, there was another lady that they didn't even mention. You know, they didn't even mention me there because I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be mentioned because I went to jail with him twice. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to put that part in there. You know, I said, don't put that part in there with me going to jail. I said, you can put the part in there, but I said, just let Jeff do what he's doing because Jeff and I were very close, and they portrayed him terrible. He wasn't that kind of a guy. Right. Ray loved Jeff, and Jeff loved Ray. And Joe Adams came between them. You know what I mean? Joe Adams and I close friend. I got his job for him. When Ray asked me, so what do you want to do? I said, get him. He's a good guy. He brings some class to the band. But Jeff wasn't really a terrible guy like they try to make him boss and all that stuff in the boss we're doing. He wasn't that kind of a guy. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't his. He was an Army veteran, and he was a very smart man. You know.
I don't think I've got some kind of misconception going on here because I've always been of the attitude for some reason that don't know brothers live in Catawba.
I'm a Catawba native.
I ain't never heard about
yes,
no
sir. I left here when I was 17 years old, you know, and that's why they bring me back to, they say I'm something like, hey, you made it out of here and did halfway decent, you know what I'm saying? So they, you know, I've got one sister up in Catawba. Everybody else in my family is gone, so, but I do come back home, and I'm glad to come home. I was out of here for almost, I guess my daughter's 40, I was out here almost 40-something years before I came back here, you know. I came back twice to visit when my uncle died or something, but that was it, you know.
I know Brother Hamilton and Brother Hare, I'm not a great baseball fan, used to be, you know, some years ago. I liked the St. Louis Cardinals.
Okay.
Back in the day when
good team.
Orlando Cepeda and
Yeah.
Gibson was on the mound, and Julio Javier.
Yeah.
That bunch of
Shelton.
gas house games,
Yeah.
what they called them, I think.
Yeah.
I liked them then, but I've not really followed baseball. But I listened to my coworker talk about it, and I think if there weren't baseball, he would die. I really do. So I can almost feel what it's like to carry something, carry an accomplishment, like playing baseball and playing it well. And even 50, 60 years later, to think about it is to live it and do it and have that same feeling all over again, the joy of just playing the game.
Yeah, my grandfather carried me to the ballpark when I was 3. And I guess the bug bit me. He sat in the bleachers, and I had to sit down front on a log and watch him. And then as I grew up, I was a bat boy. I used to hustle balls. I used to park cars. I used to carry the bags into the stadium so I could get in free. And I used to watch them dress. And then when they would go on the field, they let me use their glove. And it just got to be a part of me. And that's all I knew. In my high school yearbook was what I wanted to do, my vocation, professional baseball. I didn't know that was it.
You know, Jimmy, speaking of baseball, to me, the guy that was one of the greatest baseball players ever is the Wizard of Oz, Ozzie Smith.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
This guy,
yeah.
I've never seen anybody he was an acrobat.
Yeah.
And he came out on top. He'd do flips,
Yeah.
come up with
They
balls.
never should have stopped him from doing that. Remember that thing he used to
Yeah,
do?
they
when he
stopped
was
Yeah,
in the
they
game?
turn him over. He'd turn over. He'd do,
You know why?
do his yeah.
We
That's,
go into
yeah, it's theatrics. You know what I'm saying? But he was
Well, they were concerned about
he
him
was
getting hurt.
qualified to do it, man. You know that man was. He
They
was
shouldn't have
something.
stopped that. That exploded the crowd every time he
it
came out
did,
and
it
did
did,
that.
it did. That's like Mark Gastineau with football. You remember how he used to do the
Gastineau,
dance and
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
there?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know, they stopped him. You know.
That's why Arthur Smith never played Negro League. Dave Winfield never played in Negro League and things like that.
Dave was a good friend of mine.
Because
Yeah.
what they were doing, they were taking them away before they get to the Negro League. But really, sort of the Negro League was sort of going down. It had went down. It might have been folded back in them days when they first started out. So that's why the Negro League went folded.
But nobody to come to
When
see.
nobody come seeing us play and things like
Because
that.
everything was in the
Because it's not too many guys that play baseball, maybe one or two, Hank Aaron and Ernie Banks, that played in the league, that it went to the big league.
When I first saw Jackie Robinson, I was living in Louisville. My uncle took me to see. We had to go to Cincinnati to see Jackie Robinson because Louisville didn't have nothing going, you know.
Yeah.
So we went to Cincinnati, you know. And then later on in the years, Jackie worked for Chock full of Nuts, the coffee company. And all the entertainers, Fats Domino, everybody, we all lived, Red Fox, we all lived in the Hotel Teresa. And the Hotel Teresa had a Chock full of Nuts coffee shop downstairs. And Jackie Robinson was the vice president of Chock full of Nuts. And we used to come into town and play the Apollo. And every morning around 10 o'clock, we'd all come down to the coasters. And we had to go to work at 12 o'clock. We'd stop in Chock full of Nuts. And Jackie Robinson would always come in. And he'd sit there and talk to us. Muhammad Ali, we was all there. He'd always come in and sit there, you know, and talk to us. But he was a very nice guy, man. He was a very nice fella.
Take Duke right here, when we were coming down from Nashville to here, we started remembering the hotels that we stayed.
Please.
That's what we stayed in.
I've stayed in funeral homes.
We stayed in
I stayed in a funeral home in Durham, North Carolina, across the railroad track. We couldn't stay there. I've stayed in funeral homes, man, because we couldn't get a room anywhere else.
Well,
I stayed
I
in
have-
funeral homes. You know,
I have-
Durham, North Carolina, we stayed in a funeral home.
I have stayed in transit houses.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have stayed in transit houses till they have nothing on the springs but a sheet. But a sheet.
This is true stuff. This is true stuff.
That's true.
I
It's
stayed-
true. I'm talking about.
I stayed in a town where I couldn't stay with the other ball players. And so they got me a room with this old lady out there, and I said that was nice that they would give her a little money. But she gave me the best bed. Big on high feather bed, and the chamber pot in the corner, and everything, man, and it was, what do you call them little things? The bed bugs.
All them chinches, that's what
Changes. That's what they want. Changes, right.
And I was nice, I smiled.
I'll tell you what they
We went
were
through
called
some things.
children.
Yeah, we went through some things.
But and back in, we were so sleepy and tired till we had the sheet on the springs with no mattress. We went on to sleep. We went on to sleep because we were tired. Because and man, sometimes you might go in the room and one of the springs break.
This is no joke. It was bad for
It was
us.
bad. It sure was.
It was bad for the entertainers too.
Sure
You know, like
right.
it was bad.
And like I was telling him, we were talking everything we said. He knew all about it because he lived there.
Yeah.
Right.
So then all these different hotels, black in them days, things like that. That's the only place we could go.
Yeah.
So it did.
I think
And
the
he-
longest.
You know,
longest-
Dick Clark. When I was on the road with Dick Clark, he's one of the people that stopped that. He used to take out what they call the big show, like 4 or 5 buses. He'd have Paul Anka, Annette Funicelli, Fats Domino, Laverne Baker, Ruth Brown. I started out with Ruth Brown before I went with Ray Charles.
Mm.
And we was on like doing what they call the big show, all down through here.
Yeah.
If you couldn't stay where he stayed, he wouldn't check into the hotel. He said, we go play, we ride to the, now you mentioned you're missing 75 beds, man,
Oh,
in a
man.
hotel.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of money.
That's right.
So they finally got up off of that, you know what I mean? Because Dick took the show out every year. He had a lot of it with Fats or Lloyd Price or somebody
Yeah,
like that, or Ray Charles. And if you don't stay where I stay, I'm not gonna stay there without you. He did that. You know, he was that kind of a guy. And we're going to the
I think
next
maybe
town.
as close as I can get realistically to having been that way is the movie I saw, Bingo Long and the Traveling
Okay.
All-Stars
Yeah.
and Motor
Yeah.
Kings.
Okay.
Was that like
It was a movie.
close to it?
It was.
Well,
It was.
was a movie.
That was a movie there, but with them, they had the Indianapolis Clowns. They had what they called the Shadow Ball, and they did all like that. But let me tell you about that Negro League. They had some guys was throwing aspirin tablets. You hear me? And come up there and hit that ball downtown. I mean, and clean, wasn't nothing but street sweeper, and threw you out. We had one guy that was outstanding from Nashville, boy named Kelly Searcy, and one guy
Left-hand
named
pitcher.
Doc Dennis. He was a left-hand pitcher. Kelly was, and he had a guy named Henry Kimbrough. He was the batting champion in Cuba, and they had some guys could play. They had a guy, Speed Merchant.
If we can run.
I mean, they said that, what the guy named Cool Papa Bill,
Yeah.
he could cut the light off and get in the bed before the room got dark.
He fast.
But, you know, and going back to the bus thing, I think the longest that I didn't get in the bed was 9 days. We rode every night because I'm forgetting now whether we out west or where. Wasn't nowhere to stay, so we kept riding. My feet swole up big as sausages because I didn't know, young guy. Pulled my shoes off and I got it. I couldn't wear nothing but shower shoes.
Because we had to play to eat.
Oh yeah, we had a man in the stands counting heads.
Can't kind of
So
hit. We
that
had to play to
60-40,
eat.
that 60-40 had to go.
Because 60-40. I don't know if how they do 60-40. We always want that 60. We good with that 60. You talking about?
You know, speaking of 60-40, Jimmy, Ray Charles used to ask me every night, what it look like? I said, 70-30.
Oh,
He
yeah.
says, yeah. He says, I said, yeah. So we go down to the next house. What did it look like? I said, 60-40. He said, what is it? Well, I said, 50-50. He said, what, Duke? I'm getting tired of you telling me about this so-and-so every night. I'm not going to play these jobs no more where they got to be 40 up here and 60 down here.
Yeah.
And when you tell me about that, but that's the truth. He used to tell me, I'm not going to, don't tell me no more about this 70-30, this 60-40. But that's the way it was. Upstairs, you had the blacks had to sit upstairs, the white would be down here, the whites would be upstairs, the blacks would be down here. You know,
Right.
that's the truth. I'm talking the early 60s.
Now, I remember one time we were playing in New Orleans, Louisiana. Ray Charles, you probably were there. We stayed in the same hotel. I didn't tell you that about yesterday, but that's when it was. I'll never forget this. That was Ray Charles in the same hotel that we was in. And but I didn't meet him, but I didn't say Ray Charles here or anything like that. But we used to meet all the entertainers.
And stay in the same hotel.
Stay
You
in
had
the
to
same
be.
hotel. Sure did.
Oh yeah, we saw Sam Cook.
Sam
Yeah, we all hung out together, man.
We play ball that evening. Play that evening, and we might go see the concert that night.
Oh yeah,
If
Charlie
we had the
Pride.
money.
Charlie Pride pitched for the Memphis Red Sox.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, Charlie was out there, and ladies and gentlemen, he That's him. He didn't put on. That wasn't that twang. That was him.
Yeah.
He had a big old wooden guitar, and he'd sit on the back of the
Had
bus.
2 strings.
And they would tell him, "Shut up back
2
there,"
strings.
throwing gloves and balls at him, but he'd be still singing. Yeah. We
Well, I'm
sung
sure all
his way-
3 of you,
he
with
sung his
whatever,
way out of it,
with
though.
your experiences,
Yeah.
I know, if you had, and we know that it's all about the stories that you have to tell and the experiences that you share and all of that, But the reality of it is, this was life.
Oh yeah.
This was
Oh,
living
yeah.
life as you lived it. And fortunately now you can look back on it and talk about it in a sense that it's humorous.
Oh yeah.
But that's how a lot of black people function.
Oh yeah.
They take something that was serious, add some humor to it, and that makes it easier to deal with. But I would imagine some of the things that you went through were absolutely horrifying. Number one, not being able to lay down your head down and go to sleep.
That's right.
And that sort of thing.
But I was about to say, after 50, 60 years, and we meet guys across the country we played against and we played with, and it's still a big hug and, hey man, what's going on? And you just get bound together like we've just met.
We just met right here. And he knew everything.
now on.
Everything we did. He
If
was
I
out
ever
there.
see him wherever I see him,
I
it's
know him
now
again.
on.
Never time
I do.
he had the same spirit that
Yeah.
that we had.
Right.
We didn't know that the entertainers
Yeah,
were
we
catching
did.
the same spirit that we had talking about. So did. And it's
Same
been to tell
thing.
you.
Gentlemen, pure joy, pure pleasure to
We thank you,
we've
Jim.
had you on the show. I hope you
Inviting
get back
us
through
here.
sometimes. You may, have a little more time or whatever, and maybe hang out with some with me and some of my friends or whatever, and
yeah.
talk. I'd love for my coworker to meet you. Like I say, he's a baseball fanatic.
It's a blessing to be here.
Amen.
Yes, sir. It's a blessing to be here.
And get my town straight. It's cut toy.
Cut toy.
It's better than cutaway.
I was
Don't
saying,
cut away.
away.
Thank you so much for coming. Godspeed. God be with you, bless you,
Amen.
and keep you as you travel.
Amen.
Thank
Take
you.
you home
Amen,
safely.
amen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For Minority Focus, I'm Jimmie Moore.